So I fully expect there to be some pretty heavy dissension in the comments of this video, and that's honestly, that is okay, right? Different strokes for different folks, but personally, I think Jeff is a lot better now after these changes in 2.5, okay? Rewind a little over a week ago when NetEase published their changes for heroes coming in 2.5, and everyone was like losing their minds about how Jeff was getting demolished, right? About how his rework to his kit was a serious nerf, and many saying Jeff would be utterly useless in the new patch. Well, I've played several hours with Jeff since the update, and I gotta say, I think he's better. So in today's video, I'm going to break down why I think that, and all the gameplay in the video is after the update went live, so enjoy that. So let me first just give a quick summation of what's different with Jeff, okay? I always felt like Jeff sort of awkwardly walked in two different worlds, yeah? Some people wanted to be a DPS Jeff, where they could just swim all the way around the map into the enemy back line and just oppress healers and ranged duelists, right? Other Jeff mains wanted to play support Jeff and just stand behind their front line and dish out healing. But I honestly felt like Jeff wasn't great, honestly, at either role, okay? It felt like you had to commit to one or the other, right? But he didn't do either one of those things particularly well compared to other heroes. But these changes, I think, they helped Jeff keep this idea of walking in two worlds, but they made it so it's a seamless unification of those two worlds instead of demanding you pick one or the other, okay? Jeff is now a true hybrid who can both support and damage unilaterally and do both things respectably well, okay? There's a match in here where I end up with 32 KOs, 30 assists, while still having over 25,000 healing, 11,000 damage, double-digit final hits. Like I said, he's performing like a true hybrid now. So let's unpack what changed. So there's a lot of give and take here, but I think he gained more than he lost. Okay, first up is his primary fire. A lot changed here. So his primary fire used to be just a healing water gun, basically. Yeah, a steady stream of healing. It used to do 140 healing per second back in the day. It was increased to 150 per second, but now they've also added a new effect to his Joyful Splash primary fire. It now also deals damage to enemies. This ability has always penetrated multiple targets and healed anybody in the stream all at once. That effect continues so that now you can both damage an enemy and heal an ally at the exact same time. Or you can heal 3 allies and deal damage to 2 enemies all at the exact same time. It's crazy. So you want to line people up, just like you're using Luna Snow's Ice Arts ability, right? Her clap, and try and catch as many targets, friend or foe, in your line of fire all at once. And while there is damage drop-off after 20 meters, you can still damage absolutely any enemy you can see. So a lot of times you'll see me just like standing on the point and shooting at the enemy spawn. And as they're filing through the choke points, all of them are taking damage. It's charging up my ultimate super fast. As long as there's a line of sight, it will connect. And it will also connect to any enemy that's corner peeking, right? That means, because it's got like a little bit of a radius to it, you can just shoot at the corner of cover and hit an enemy that's behind cover, provided they are close enough to the edge. This addition to Jeff's kit opens up a brand new strength that he never possessed before, and that's being anti-flyer, right? With like the new team-ups and the new strategist Ultron, most lobbies are going to have at least 1, if not 3 flying enemies, right? You've got Storm has a new team-up, Iron Man has a new team-up, Ultron is new. You're going to have a lot of flyers. Jeff can now apply constant pressure to flyers, something he couldn't ever do before this update because his only offensive ability was his water blast gun that he did, and it had travel time. It was really difficult to land against flying enemies. Within 20 meters, he'll do 70 damage per second with his primary fire now. Outside of 40, he'll do 45.5 per second. This right here is absolutely massive. Now, one of the things I often do is line up teammates that I want to heal with an enemy that I want to damage, right? That way I can both deal damage and heal at the same time. It helps my teammate win that fight, but also I get double ultimate energy at the same time because I'm racking up damage and I'm racking up healing with the same trigger pull. But it doesn't stop there. Jeff is now also really good at destroying deployables. He can shoot down Namor squids much easier than he used to be able to. He can shoot down Loki runes. He can shoot down Moon Knight Onks, etc. All with this primary fire. And you do it seamlessly. You don't have to switch between firing modes now to do those things. You go from healing and then you just look over at a Loki rune and break it and go back to healing. And you never have to break up your fire. It's crazy just how much more versatile Jeff got with this one change. It honestly helps to offset some of the other changes to his kit. One other utility that I think we have to mention, Jeff's primary fire doing damage also opened up a brand new strength for him. He's now really good at flushing out invisible enemies like Psylocks and Invisible Womans. This is something he used to not really be able to do, but now if a Psylocke or an Invisible Woman goes invisible, you just spray your water all over the place that they used to be, and eventually you will hit them and reveal them for everyone. Now along those lines, Jeff had a couple of nerfs worth noting. Okay, like I said earlier, it's a give and take. One thing we lost was the infinite swimming, or rather hide and seek. Now you can only stay submerged for 6 seconds before you need to resurface and charge it back up. Jeff used to be able to stay submerged as long as he wanted, indefinitely. If you were a support Jeff before the update, this change, let me tell you, doesn't really affect you. It doesn't. Basically, nothing will change for you. If you were a dive Jeff who constantly swam all the way around the map behind enemy lines and used your hide and seek swimming to avoid damage while staying in the enemy's back line, hey, this will suck for you, okay? That's not really what Jeff does anymore. Just ingrain that in your brain right now. That's not really what he does anymore. So remember the intro to this video, I said they really blended those two roles into one. That means backline Jeff isn't really a thing anymore. Honestly, I don't mind that. I always felt like backline Jeff was, and I don't mean this as an insult, but I always felt like it was kind of a crummy way to play personally. Low risk, high reward. It also tricked your teammates into thinking they had two supports when they really only had one support because Jeff wasn't actually going to be helping the team. He was just going to be healing himself on a solo crusade to annoy the enemy healers. I think this change is perfectly reasonable. This ability is now about avoiding damage when you get dove by an enemy. It's no longer about swimming all the way around the map and into the enemy backline. If you're just trying to get away, you've still got plenty of time to do that, no problem, so don't sweat this change. Now Jeff Bubbles, the ability called Healing Bubble, it also got a rework. These bubbles used to do 85 healing immediately when they were picked up. But now they do 120 healing, which is much greater, but it's applied over 4 seconds instead of all up front. But your bubble charges at once dropped from 6 down to 3. So again, this is good for support Jeffs, but bad for backline diving Jeffs. You used to be able to just pop out of the ground and heal yourself while knocking back the enemy for instant self-healing and then going back underground, right? But now the focus is actually on supporting your teammates. You can still self-heal. That's definitely a thing you can still do. You can apply more healing, and you didn't lose the ability to do a bunch of burst healing with the bubbles to critical health tanks, right? Like if your Groot is in the critical and you need to heal them quickly, you can just go blah, 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 and then also just switch to your primary fire right after, and he'll get a ton of healing. But you can't spam them on yourself and drag out a 1v1 for 30 or 40 seconds like you used to be able to, right? So fewer charges, more overall healing potential. I just toss them onto the point or into choke points when they're cooled down, start stockpiling them up around the map. They don't take long to charge back up at all. I think it's like 3 seconds per charge, so it's not a big deal. Now, since Jeff's primary fire is now dealing damage as well as healing, they decided to change the ability Aqua Burst, where Jeff fires off an offensive blast with an AoE damage field. You can still do this attack, right? It's the right click. You can still do this attack, but you have only 3 charges now on the attack. It's not wrapped up into your primary fire magazine anymore. It's a separate thing. And they recharge in 3 seconds each, so you can't just spam the ability indefinitely. But the trade-off is that they now have the knock-up effect that your bubbles used to have, and the AoE on the attack got slightly increased, so they have a wider field of effect, and they knock enemies up. So in other words, you'll hit more targets, you'll launch them up briefly, which can disrupt their attacks and their combos. You just can't spam them anymore. And just remember, they're on a separate cooldown of their own now, so you don't need to reload after firing them off like you used to. And that's like a muscle memory thing for Jeff mains. You used to do your Aqua Burst, blam, 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 and then you hit reload. You don't have to do that anymore. They're not part of your magazine. Now Jeff's ultimate, it also got a small buff. He can now apply greater healing to his allies that he swallows and give them bonus HP up to 150 extra bonus health. So I used this, once to swallow my team when an enemy Hela popped her ult. I took all of them out of her line of sight, gave them all bonus HP, and then spit them back out in a safe location, so the Hela wasn't actually able to get a single kill. And Jeff's passive ability that allows him to ignore 50% crit damage got a buff. So now he can ignore 70%. That's huge. So he actually got a lot more survivability there. And then obviously we got 2 brand new team ups. There's one with Venom. This one's actually really, really good. Okay, so it makes it so that you can shoot out these tendrils, right? Like the symbiote tendrils, just like I think it's his right click, Venom's right click, where he shoots out the tendrils to link enemies. Well, Jeff can now do that with allies. He shoots out these tendrils, they'll grab any ally that's nearby, it'll apply constant healing to them, and then after a couple of short seconds, it will do one big burst of healing before it disengages. So that's a huge ability, does a ton of healing. It's great for support Jeffs. We also got the Sharknado with Storm. This one can be a little bit tricky. Now you can, in theory, there's a couple different ways to queue this up. You could activate your ult, swallow a few people, and then go into Storm's ult herself, her tornado. It will suck you up and everything that's in your mouth and do big damage to them. That's one way of doing it, where you ult, you swallow, you go into Storm's ult. The other way of doing it, which is a little bit easier, is if you wait for Storm to ult first, and then you just look at her ult, and you hit Z on mouse and keyboard, and that will just like immediately toss you into the tornado, and you'll be this giant Jeff Sharknado, and it's pretty cool to do. I think if you're communicating well, the better way to do it is if you swallow some enemies first, and then she pops her ult and you go into it. You're going to get more time, more uptime on the Sharknado. You're also going to guarantee that you're taking a bunch of enemies into the tornado itself. So a couple different ways to queue it up. One's easier with lower reward. One's a little bit more difficult to manage, but if you do it right, you're going to get more people trapped in the Sharknado. Okay, so where does that leave us? Well, Jeff is now a true hybrid, right? He's not a diver anymore, but he's not like a full support either. He actually bridges the gap between the DPS and the support worlds and becomes something greater. He can apply constant healing to his allies while also dishing out constant damage to his enemies at the same time. You no longer have to pick one or the other. You can do both at once. You'll make flyers scared to go really high in the air and isolate themselves because you're just going to apply constant pressure to them, which will sort of ground them. You'll also be able to provide a ton of backline support to your allies in the process. All in all, I think Jeff is now better than he used to be. I know it's a bold claim. I truly believe it, though. He's a proper hybrid now. It's not one or the other. It's a seamless, unilateral sort of relationship between the two worlds. Be a helper, but also be a threat. And don't sacrifice one for the other like you used to do. But I definitely want to know what you think in the comments below. Let me know how you're feeling about the Jeff changes, and if you think they're good or they're bad and why. Thanks so much for watching the video today, and consider subscribing for additional Rivals content. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.